जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारिया यमुना तीरावनचारिया जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारिया यमुना तीरावनचारिया जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya. Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, titled Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 7, titled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions, text 52. Yatha harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktihi bhavishyati sarva atmani akhila adhare iti sankalpya varnaya yata harau bhagavati yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya iti sankalpya varnaya yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya yatha harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya. Please repeat. Yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya yatha harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati iti sankalpya varnaya Nam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya. Matajis. Yata harau bhagavati. It's a little too loud. Nam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti varnaya yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya. Word-to-word translations. Yatha, as much as. Harau, unto the personality of Godhead. Bhagavati, unto the Lord. Nranam, for human beings. Bhakti, devotional service. Bhavishyati, become enlightened. Sarva Atmani, the absolute whole. Akhila Adhare, unto the summum bonum. Iti, thus. Sankalpya, by determination. Varnaya, describe. Translation purport. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Please describe the science of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental loving service, devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summum bonum source of all energies. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam is the philosophy of devotional science and the scientific presentation of man's relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prior to the age of Kali, there was no need for such a book of knowledge to know the Lord and His potent energies. But with the beginning of the age of Kali, human society gradually became influenced by four sinful principles, namely illegitimate connection with women, intoxication, gambling, and unnecessary killing of animals. Because of these basic sinful acts, man gradually became forgetful of his eternal relation with God. Therefore, man became blind so as to speak to his ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal of life is not to pass a life of irresponsibility like the animals and indulge in a polished way in the four animal principles, namely eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. For such a blind human society, in the darkness of ignorance, Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight to see things in proper perspective. Therefore, it was necessary to describe the signs of God from the very beginning, or from the very birth of the phenomenal world. As we have already explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented that any sincere student of this great science will be able to understand the science of God simply by reading it with attention, or simply by regularly hearing it from a bona fide speaker. Everyone is hankering after happiness in life, but in this age, the members of human society, blind as they are, do not have the proper vision that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all happiness, because He is the ultimate source of everything. Janmadhyasya ataha. Happiness in complete perfection without hindrance can be achieved only by our devotional relationship with Him, and it is only by His association that we can get free of distressful material existence. Even those who are after the enjoyment of this material world can also take shelter of the great science of Srimad Bhagavatam, and they will be successful at the end. Narada is therefore requested or ordered by his spiritual master to present this science with determination and in good plan. Narada was never advised to preach the principles of Bhagavatam to earn a livelihood. He was ordered by his spiritual master to take the matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yata harau bhagavati nrinam bhaktir bhavishyati sarvatmanyakhiladhare iti sankalpya varnaya. Please describe the signs of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summum bonum source of all energies. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Mande Bhalopiyatad Anugrahat Tare Nana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. So, here, this is the penultimate verse of this chapter, where Brahma is answering Narada Muni's questions as to who created the universe, how did everything appear, what is the source of everything. Narada approaches Brahma saying, it seems like you're the creator of everything, seems like you're the source of everything, but who's above you? Where did you get all your power from? So then, Brahma gives this reply. And it's very befitting that we find this in this chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam in the second canto, because herein the Guru Parampara has begun. We see that Narada is approaching Brahma, who is the technical creator of this universe, and then asks him, where did you get your power from? So, Brahma begins by instructing Narada Muni and makes him the first disciple in the Guru Parampara system. And in the next chapter, he will describe where he got his instructions from and describes his initiation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead that happened in the form of the Chatushloki Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Srimad Bhagavatam spoken in 4 verses. We will see that beginning with the verse Aham evasam evagre. So this is the Chatushloki Bhagavatam that will come in the next in the next chapter. So here the Guru Parampara has begun, and Brahma, having instructed and initiated his son and disciple, Narada Muni, in the science of Srimad Bhagavatam, now gives him an instruction where he says, please describe the science of Godhead with determination and in a manner by which it will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, the super soul of every living being and the summum bonum source of all energy. So he gives him an order to preach, basically. And here in this verse, we see that that Brahma uses the word iti sankalpya varnaya, that you describe this, how? With determination. You take a sankalpa, you take a determination to describe this. And this determination is required for any preacher. This determination is required for anybody who wants to spread the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, this determination is required for anybody who wants to practice devotional service itself. Forget about preaching. Therefore, Rupa Goswami says in his Nectar of Instruction, he explains in text 3, Utsahan Nishchayad Dhairyat. This Nishchayad is, what does Nishchayad mean? Determination. Well, there's another translation, yes, but what's in the verse itself? Confidence. Endeavoring with confidence. Prabhupada writes, Utsahan, you have to endeavor with enthusiasm, but then Nishchayad, you must have confidence. And then Dhairyat. What is Dhairyat? Patience. So, Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he clubs these two. He clubs the first, he says, he describes about enthusiasm and endeavoring with confidence, kind of together. He lumps them together. And then he explains about patience. So, he says that without enthusiasm, nobody can be... So, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha or enthusiasm. these are like what I would like to call gems of the nectar of instruction. You have these kind of like definitions that you find in the nectar of instruction. What is enthusiasm? Endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called enthusiasm. How to be enthusiastic? Well, you have to endeavor with intelligence in Krishna consciousness. It's amazing how Srila Prabhupada defines this. And so, along with that, Srila Prabhupada says that execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. Why? Because he says the devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. You see, the devotees, they're enthusiastic to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And therefore, how do they serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead? They engage the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And to do that with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called enthusiasm. So, Prabhupada writes here that devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation but practical action in the foreground. This word foreground is very important. It means that action in Krishna consciousness has to be visible. Like it has to be one of the prominent features of a devotee that is extremely visible. That devotional service executed practically, that practical enthusiasm, that practical determination, that practical patience has to be on the foreground of one's spiritual life, not in the background. It's not in the background, it's in the foreground of one's spiritual life. Meaning, foreground means these are visible characteristics. That if one has to be a devotee, one has to exhibit these things. One cannot be a devotee without exhibiting these qualities. If one doesn't have these qualities, then what? Then one is simply influenced by the mode of ignorance. One is in tamogun. One is, no, I have so much bhakti in my heart. You go to the Indians, many of them. That's, I worship Krishna in my heart. But on one hand, you're holding Coke and, French fries, and then you're, dancing with your girlfriend, but you have Krishna in your heart. Yes, we know Krishna is in your heart, but you've completely forgotten him. No, I always think of Krishna. I see how you're thinking. I see what you're thinking. You're not thinking of Krishna. You're thinking of whatever, going to the movies and eating popcorn with your girlfriend. That's what you're thinking. See, this is not Krishna consciousness. This is not Bhakti. Yes, from childhood I've been worshipping. No, foreground of devotional service has to be practical execution of devotional service. These are the characteristics that has to be seen. When these characteristics are not seen, utsaha, nishchaya, dhairya, determination, Utsaha, enthusiasm, determination and patience is not seen. And if instead one is talking of the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, then it's just sahajiya. It's sahajiya. They don't want to perform practical devotional service. Practically, they have no enthusiasm to execute the orders of the spiritual master. But on the other hand, they are very enthusiastic to talk about high-flown subject matters. They'll be very enthusiastic to discuss whether we fell down from the spiritual world or we didn't fall down from the spiritual world. They love to get into that controversy. But if you tell them to watch some parts, they won't do that. They can't do. It's impossible for them to execute devotion. But they'll come and they'll talk a lot of philosophy. So, we see that such people are considered to be neophytes in devotional service. Why? Because they are not even following the basic requirement, which is, it is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. So Prabhupada continues, he says, these activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continued to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in the discharge of devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, devotional service surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. So, Srila Prabhupada, the way Prabhupada describes, there's so much that can be learned in just these simple purports of the Nectar of Instruction. That Srila Prabhupada, he explains that he gives the same example. He said, this Krishna conscious movement was started single-handedly, but because we executed it with patience, we are seeing success. In due course of time, people understood the importance of this movement. Why is that relevant? Because it's relevant to this verse where Narada Muni is being instructed by Brahma to describe the signs of determination, describe the signs of Godhead with determination and in a manner that human beings can understand, in a manner that others will be able to appreciate. But he gives instruction, don't just describe the Bhagavatam in a manner that others can understand, but do it with determination. Why is that determination required? Because initially people will not like Krishna consciousness. And we will read more about that, But the point is, people will not appreciate. They will not appreciate. But determination is required, otherwise we will not be able to carry on. We will not be able to carry on with our Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada gives the example, of course, of a woman who gets married, that eventually she will have children. And Prabhupada describes what is confidence here. This is the definition that you find. Again, another gem of the Nectar of Instruction purports. Prabhupada writes, devotional service surrender means that one has to become confident. So what is surrender? Surrender means that you have to become confident. If you are not confident that Prabhupada gave us everything, here is the signs to go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada's instructions will take us back home, back to Godhead. The execution of devotional service will give me love of Godhead. If we don't have this confidence, we have not surrendered. If we don't have this confidence, we are not determined. If Narada Muni has doubts that what Brahma told him, maybe this is true, maybe he's just faking something, maybe he's just dreaming something up. Who knows if he actually met Krishna? What is he saying? Some fantastic thing. He got vision of Vaikuntha and this and that. I didn't see all these things. How do I know it's true? If he has these kind of doubts, he is not determined. So what is determination? Determination is not mechanical execution of activities within the umbrella of Krishna consciousness, but having so many doubts in one's mind. That is not determination. It may seem externally that it seems that you're going on with the motion of something. And you will see that devotees who go on with those motions, after some time suddenly, out of nowhere, they seem to snap and then they just bloop. How did it suddenly go? And sometimes you see that. And, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj would describe how even during Srila Prabhupada's time, so many devotees would get initiated and then after that they would just disappear. Why did you come all the way up to the point of initiation where you literally are taking vows with the spiritual master that you will continue this lifelong, and then you just bloop? Because all the while the devotional service was not executed with determination. It wasn't executed with confidence. Why? Because faith was lacking. That faith was never developed, and the devotee ignored destroying those doubts in one's heart. He did not make that endeavor. They were more. See, in Krishna consciousness, there is that ecstasy. When we come in kirtan, it's like ecstatic, and we dance and we chant, and then it's fun to associate with the devotees, take prasadam, do these things. And initially, we may come to Krishna consciousness attracted by these things. And that is good. They are aspects of transcendental devotional service. However, one has to ultimately develop faith in Krishna. One has to ultimately develop faith in the spiritual master. Because after some time, devotional service, initially, I mean, I don't know about all of you. Sometimes, at least I remember the first few times, the first time I attended the Sunday program. And after that, when I felt like I was floating on a cloud. After the kirtan, after the prasadam, you have that feeling where you just feel like you're floating in. I remember that, because you're suffering so much in material world, and you come in, and I remember just walking up the stairs to the temple room, and Prabhupada's tape would play. I was like, this tape of Srila Prabhupada, this Hare Krishna mantra, this is so blissful. This is so, I feel like I'm entering the spiritual world, and that, that smell of incense that attracts you. And you walk inside and you hear the kirtan and you see that the deities of the Supreme Lord. You offer obeisances. Even the floor of the temple would feel like, wow, this floor is so amazing. This is the temple room floor. It's so nice. Because it's so much different to the floor in your house or something like that. These things are very attractive. And I used to remember, just taking that simple dal, or I remember this potato sabji. This potato sabji is just, I would love to come to the temple for that potato sabji. It was just amazing. It's just simple potato sabji. It's really simple, but it's prasadam. And those things are there, and they attract us, and that's wonderful. But then you think, okay, I got to become serious in Krishna consciousness. When you start becoming serious in Krishna consciousness, then there are difficulties, because when you just have to attend one kirtan in the week, it's easy to be enthusiastic in that kirtan. You have to attend kirtan day after day after day, you feel modded out. So then that's where, if one does not clear those doubts, if one does not perform that devotional service with determination, then what happens is you just get doubts, and those doubts start to eat your mind up alive. And you may be you may still be distributing books, and you may be doing devotional service and doing all these things, and in the mind it's just festering. It's like germinating. And when something starts to rot, it starts to stink. Beyond a certain point of time, you can't tolerate the stench anymore. So it's like these doubts are like rotting, things in the head. And if ignored, beyond a certain point of time, they can't be ignored anymore. They overpower. Like, it could be one simple, one simple bowl of dal. One bowl of dal, if you keep it in the middle of this room, initially it's okay. Then when it starts, when it's left there beyond the point of time that it should be left, it slowly starts emanating this stench. Initially, it's such a big room. How can that small bowl overpower? After some time, you come after 24 hours or 48 hours, you can't stay in that room until that bowl of dal is thrown out. So these doubts in our head become like that. They sit there, they rot, and then they overtake everything else. We forget about how much we suffered before we came to Krishna consciousness. Everything we forget. Only that doubt seems to be there. And then, we bloop, because, we never took care of it. It consumed us instead of us dealing with it before. So, the devotee thinks, Avashya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. This is definition. That Krishna will surely protect me. He will definitely protect me. And He will give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. I will get help. I will get help to execute devotional service. Although there are so many challenges, although there are so many things that I don't understand about, although I have no clue how I'm going to go back home, back to Godhead, I have no clue, still, I'm confident that Krishna will protect me, and that this process will lead me to, will give me guaranteed success in Krishna consciousness, as long as I stick to the orders of Guru and Krishna. So, Krishna, he very much emphasizes, this aspect of determination in Bhagavad Gita. Famous verse. Sa nischayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kamam styaktva sarvan asheshataha manasaiva indriya gramam viniyamya samantataha. Of course, chapter 6 in Bhagavad Gita is about meditation. right? So you can't meditate without determination. So often this word determination shows up in this particular chapter of Bhagavad Gita, although it's in other places as well. But so one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, and should not be deviated from the path. One should abandon, without exception, all material desires born of mental speculation, thus control the senses on all sides by the mind. So Prabhupada, he writes in the purport, he gives the example of the sparrow. As for determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its waves. The sparrow, became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider appeal, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick up the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small bird, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her eggs, lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened, and at this returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, in the practice of Krishna consciousness, especially Bhakti Yoga in Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. So this is one place where Srila Prabhupada admits that Bhakti Yoga may seem difficult. Although generally in most places, he said Bhakti Yoga is very easy. Easily performed. Where is the difficulty? Where is the difficulty? Here Prabhupada is saying, yeah, I agree. Sometimes it can seem difficult. And Prabhupada gives the solution. He says, but if someone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. So this is a very important, point to understand. And then of course we have the, the famous verse here. Yesham tantakatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhradavrataha. So those who are with determination, persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the qualities of dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Who can have determination? One who is becoming free from sinful activities. He can have determination. One who doesn't become free from sinful activities cannot have determination. So how do we become free from sinful activities? You follow the four regs, yes. You chant Hare Krishna. You chant Hare Krishna. You chant Hare Krishna. You have to chant Hare Krishna with attention. We have to chant Hare Krishna offenselessly. Of course, even offensive chanting clears one of sinful reactions. But to become free from the dualities of delusion, to become free from material desires, one has to chant the Hare Krishna mantra offenselessly. By chanting it offenselessly, automatically we will get determination. When we get determination, then we can serve the Supreme Personality Godhead. We will not fall down from devotional service. It won't happen. And Prabhupada writes, this elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. So this is a characteristic of pure devotees. And in that regard, I was reflecting on the statement that Bhakti Vikas Maharaj said to in a conversation with Govindananda Prabhu, that Mitravan Prabhu mentioned to me, that regarding Anartha Nivritti, Maharaj was saying, well, maybe you should say it instead of me paraphrasing it. What did he say about that? Is that
saying that I've stopped trying. I'm like paraphrasing, but let me tell you about myself. I've stopped trying to give up.
Let me tell you about myself. I'm just going to repeat it.
Stop trying to give up anarthas. I just try to do some service.
I've stopped to try to give up anarthas. I just try to do some service. And the rest is up to Srila Prabhupada.
He qualified it. He said, I don't actively try to cultivate it.
And he says that, and he qualified it by saying that he doesn't actively try to cultivate anarthas. So now, of course, Maharaj is speaking from a platform of humility, but in that itself, one can see that if one can execute devotional service throughout one's life without becoming deviated, without becoming disturbed, and communicating that determination, communicating that enthusiasm to so many other devotees in this, in this movement, and inspiring them to follow Srila Prabhupada, that is an example of determination. That is an example of determination. And what does that actually mean? That at the minimum refers to the platform of Nishtha. Because Nishtha means determination. You don't have Nishtha without determination. Because Nishtha is when you become fixed up. There is, at the point of Nishtha, a devotee is very, very firmly convinced about Krishna consciousness. And he develops taste. If one has to execute devotional service in a manner that is completely loyal to Srila Prabhupada, pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, one should have taste. And automatically, even though the other platforms of Krishna consciousness may not be visible for neophyte devotees like ourselves, we can understand that these are symptoms of someone being in a very advanced platform. Otherwise, it is not possible. Otherwise, it is not possible. That that to just want to serve Srila Prabhupada, to the extent that, Maharaj is very famous for this also, speaking strongly in Srila Prabhupada's service, preaching Krishna consciousness, and being fully convinced that, yes, although we are living in 2023, Prabhu, times have changed, so many things have changed. No, but Prabhupada's formula doesn't change. It still works. It works. To communicate that requires determination. So, in this regard, there's a quote I wanted to read. This is from The Path of Perfection of Srila Prabhupada, book of Path of Perfection, under the chapter 5, Determination and Steadiness in Yoga. So Prabhupada writes, however one is situated, one should have the determination to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. Note, Prabhupada is saying, however one is situated, one should have the determination to go out and preach Krishna consciousness. That endeavor should at least be there. And one who so attempts to preach renders the best service to the Lord. Despite opposition, one should attempt to elevate people to the highest standard of self-realization. One who has actually seen the truth, who is in trance of self-realization, cannot just sit idly. He must come out. Ramanujacharya, for instance, declared the Hare Krishna mantra publicly. It's very interesting that Prabhupada writes that Ramanujacharya declared the Hare Krishna mantra publicly. The Sri Vaishnavas had a heart attack reading this. He did not disturb it. He did not distribute it secretly for some fee. Recently, there's no difference between Om Namo Narayana and Hare Krishna. So let's take it like that. Recently, an Indian yogi came to America to give some quote-unquote private mantra. But if a mantra has any power, why should it be done private? If a mantra is powerful, why should it not be publicly declared so that everyone can take advantage of it? We are saying this Hare Krishna mantra, Mahamantra, can save everyone, and we are therefore distributing it publicly, free of charge. But in this age, people are so foolish, but they are not prepared to accept it. Rather, they hank after some secret mantra and therefore pay some quote-unquote yogi $35 or whatever for some quote-unquote private mantra. This is because people want to be cheated. But the devotees are preaching without charge, declaring in the streets, parks, and everywhere, here is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Come on, take it. But under the spell of Maya, illusion, people are thinking, oh, this is not good. But if you charge something and bluff and cheat people, they will follow you. So, this is also relevant to Srila Prabhupada in the last line of this purport. He writes, Narada was never advised to preach the principles of Bhagavatam to earn a livelihood. He was ordered by his spiritual master to take the matter very seriously in a missionary spirit. So, and Prabhupada, even in the previous purport, he criticized, he said it should never be heard from the professional Bhagavatam reciters who earn their livelihood by gratifying the senses of their audience. So this is a very difficult job, because if you want to sell something, you have to gratify people's senses. That's how you sell them. You sell anything. You want to gratify. You advertise that gratification. That's how you sell anything. If Delta Airlines has to advertise flying on Delta Airlines, they have to put videos and pictures of people like relaxing, chilling on the plane. Actually, the plane seat, to sit on a plane seat is pretty miserable. It's really miserable. But they make it sound as if it's the most enjoyable thing. It's even better than the sofa in your house. It's not. It's really miserable. You feel really cramped. But they make it sound as if that's the place to feel romantic about life. It's not. I don't feel romantic inside a plane. I feel miserable. But they have to advertise it like that. They have to advertise gratifying the senses. And that's how you sell anything. Whether you sell potato, you sell airline ticket, it's the same thing. You have to advertise it, that this is something you're going to enjoy. This is going to please your senses. But here we are tasked with this duty to preach Krishna consciousness. And as Srila Prabhupada is saying here, we should not earn our livelihood by gratifying the senses of the audience. I mean, we also need to survive. And the movement also needs to survive. But we're not supposed to gratify the senses of the audience. How are we supposed to do this? And at the same time, Brahma is telling Narada Muni that you have to describe it in a manner which will be quite possible for the human being to develop transcendental devotional service. Therefore, we follow the example of the predecessor acharyas. And Srila Prabhupada, I'll get more to this. Srila Prabhupada, in his song that he wrote on Jaladuta, Krishna Tava Punya Habe Bhai, he explains this. He says, Shri Siddhanta Saraswati, Sachi Suta Priya Ati, Krishna Sebai Jar Tulanai, Sei Mohante Gurur, Jagater Madhye Uru, Krishna Bhakti Deya Tai Tai. It's amazing. These verses are so powerful. So I'll read the translation. Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who is very dear to Lord Gauranga, the son of Mother Sachi, is unparalleled. Oh, I should increase the size. Sorry. That's it. Okay, is unparalleled in his service to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He is that great saintly spiritual master, most magnanimous within this universe, who bestows devotion to Krishna in various places throughout the world. Say Mohanter Guru, Jagater Madhye Uru. See, Mohanter Guru, Maharaj in his lecture, on Lord Balaram, for Balaram Purnima, he explains this Mohanter Guru. He says this Mohanter Guru, he's a Mahatma, he's a great Guru. In the next verse it says, Tara Icha Balavan, he's Balavan, he's very powerful. He has that potency. He has the potency, and it is he, as Srila Prabhupada, he gives all credit to his spiritual master. He doesn't think that he did it. He doesn't think that he had the qualification to do it. He did not know how he was going to spread Krishna consciousness when he came to the Western world. But in one sense, he also knew, because he knew that by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's mercy, it's going to happen. So then, in the next verse, it says, Tara Icha Balavan, Pachate te tan tan, hoi jate gaurangera naam, Prithivite nagaradi, asamudra nada nadi, sakale bole Krishna Ram. Tahale ananda hoi, tabe hoi dig vijay, chaitanyar kripa atishoy, maya dushta jata dhuki, jagate sabai suki, Vaishnave icha purna hoi. It's a very wonderful bhajan. His desire is very powerful, and thus he is causing the holy name of Lord Gauranga to spread throughout the countries of the Western world, in all the cities, towns and villages on the earth, extending to all the oceans, rivers and streams. Everyone may chant the names of Krishna and Rama. When Prabhupada wrote this on the Jaladuta, this wasn't going on. This was not happening. But Prabhupada saw it. Prabhupada had full conviction that this was going to happen. This is determination. This is that determination. And remember that even in this verse, Brahma is saying Sankalpya Varnaya. That sankalpya, that determination has to come first before Varnaya. You have to have determination before one can describe the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. With that determination, Krishna gives, what is that? Krishna says, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. What is that? How does the verse begin? What is that? Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. Tesham satata yuktanam. That they are satatam, that they are doing it always. What are they doing always? Satata yuktanam bhajatam, they are worshipping me. Priti purvakam, in a manner that is pleasing to me. In a manner that is pleasing to me. They don't have doubts in me. They have full faith that by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I will be taken care and I will be able to execute the orders of my spiritual master. I will become successful in this. Krishna will help me become successful in this, but I will have patience and determination and I will not doubt the instructions of the spiritual master. I will not doubt the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Priti Purvakam. And what does Krishna do? If he is already executing it Priti Purvakam, he already knows how to execute devotional service in a manner that is favorable, right? He already is executing. Then what Krishna has to give him intelligence for? Krishna then gives him the Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. He can become more close to me. He can become more dear to me. He can become more dear to me. And when Krishna is referring to himself, when anybody becomes dear to Krishna, he becomes dear to all the Vaishnavas as well, including his own spiritual master. So in this way, we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada's desire is very, very powerful. We know that Srila Prabhupada's personal presence, how he forcefully spread Krishna consciousness. But he did feel helpless. That was his mood. He felt that this was all coming from his spiritual master. He was connected to his spiritual master and he exhibited that desire that his spiritual master had. And he communicated that desire to others. And this is now being handed down to us. And then Prabhupada continues, he says, thus all directions will be conquered by a flood of transcendental ecstasy flowing with the excessive mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When all the miserable living entities that have become corrupted by Maya become happy, then the Vaishnava's desire is fulfilled. So Prabhupada already saw thousands of Srimad Bhagavatam sets being distributed every single day. Prabhupada already saw millions will join our forms. Prabhupada is seeing that. Prabhupada is seeing that. How will millions join? One devotee is not joining. How will million join? No, Prabhupada saw it. Prabhupada saw that. And he is expecting us to see it. Because this is the desire of the Supreme Personality of God. This is the desire of devotees. The desire of devotees is so strong that Krishna will change material nature to fulfill the desire of devotees. It doesn't matter how the world is. It doesn't matter. None of this matters. Srila Prabhupada did not plan to come exactly at a time when the hippie movement was taking place. The hippie movement happened because Srila Prabhupada had figured a way to come to the West. It didn't happen the other way around. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared on Janmashtami, all the stars and planets they situated themselves in a manner that glorifies the appearance of the Supreme Personality of God. It's not the other way around. And this is the same for devotees. People will think we're crazy. People think we're completely crazy. They are the ones who are crazy because they don't even know who they are. Who are they? I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm John, I'm whatever, Susie. This is nonsense. They don't even know who they are. They don't know why they are in this world. They don't know who created this world. These people are, this is the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam describes these people. What is that? Svavidvara, hoshtra karai, samstuta purusha pasuhu. These are just animals. Donkeys, asses, pigs. What is that? Camels. That's all. There is no point. The thing is, the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is strong and we have to keep endeavoring. And that is, and Prabhupada then in the 4th verse, he writes, sei karja je kori bhare, agya jadi jilo more, jogya nahi ati dinahin, thai se tomar kripa, magi teche anurupa, aji tumi sabar praveen. He says that although my Guru Maharaj ordered me to accomplish this mission, I am unworthy to do it, being very fallen and incompetent. That being the case, O Krishna, your mercy today is rising in a befitting manner to make me become worthy, for you are the wisest of all. Then he says, and I'm going to end with this. Tomar se shakti pele, Guru sabai bastu mile, जीवन सार्थक जदि होय, से सेवा पहले ताहाले सुखी हले, तब संग भाग्यते मिलोय. If you bestow your divine power, then one attains factual substance, which is service to the spiritual master, and life becomes successful. If that service is obtained, then one becomes truly satisfied and ultimately receives your association due to good fortune. So this is the amazing, just how, Prabhupada is writing here that even those who are after the enjoyment of this material world can also take shelter of the great science of Srimad Bhagavatam, and they will be successful at the end. So this is how we'll become successful at the end. This is that success that ultimately receive Krishna's association due to good fortune. How? By attaining the factual substance which is service to the spiritual master. This is the path. This is the method. You will find that every devotee, even Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he emphasized this. This is the way. There are so many things in devotional service that we won't understand. There's so many things that we won't understand. Let's go back to the classic. How did we fall down? How did we come to this material? You don't understand. Prabhupada once gave one answer. He said, you go there, you'll find out. So let's get there. So many things in devotional service that we cannot understand. And you know what? We're not meant to understand everything. We have this illusion that we think, I should understand everything. Everything must become completely understandable right now. It won't. Why? Because we haven't understood that we are fools. If that basic point, which is so evident, it's so obvious, we are fools. It is so obvious. Can there be anything that's more obvious than that, the fact that we are fools? No. But we don't accept that. How will we understand how the universe is structured? How did we fall down from the spirit? It's like this crazy. So, if we understand that we are fools, our acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, what is Prabhupada? He is not fallen, he is neither is he incompetent. He is most competent and most exalted. But he is calling himself like that, because this is the mood. And in this way, the Srimad Bhagavatam can be described to others. There are other points I wanted to speak on. Attention, because here, Prabhupada writes here, in the purport, that as we have already explained, Srimad Bhagavatam is so scientifically presented that any sincere student of this great science will be able to understand the science of God simply by reading it with attention, or simply by regularly hearing it from a bona fide speaker. So, some things could be said about that. Other things could be said about, Prabhupada is describing about the age of Kali becoming influenced by the four sinful principles, and how the Srimad Bhagavatam is the torchlight to see things in proper perspective. And so much can be said. It's an amazing purport. We can have class on this purport every single day and still not be able to cover it. But for the sake of time, I will stop now. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments, please? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Towards the end of the class, you're making the point about there's a lot of things in Krishna consciousness that we won't understand, and there's plenty of that. And in the beginning, you were talking about the doubts have to be cleared. So, like how does one discriminate between like, someone may have doubts about something, but then it's just like, it's like a useless doubt or it's not important, but then they may feel that like this is really important, I need to clear this up, and kind of like along those lines.
So that's why one has to execute devotional service in the association of sadhus and under the guidance of one spiritual master, who will tell us, they will clarify doubts, and at the same time, some things they will say, how is this relevant to you? How does this matter to you and your devotional life? This has nothing to do with you. Like, it's just you going on a mental speculation. Just, Once Srila Prabhupada, he was approached by a devotee. He said, Prabhupada, I have some, can I ask you some questions? It was, really humble, nice. And Prabhupada shot back at him, why you're always asking questions? And, almost like Prabhupada was almost like as if Prabhupada was implying, am I some answering machine? You just keep answering your questions? Are you not reading my books? So Prabhupada kind of shot back at him and didn't even explore the question. He just shot back at him and sent him away. And devotee wasn't like, it was a fixed up devotee. It wasn't just like, some devotee. Like the examples where Prabhupada didn't want to answer questions. There's those two devotees who were asking about Ugrasen's army. Who's that? Maharaj quotes that often. I forget those names. Huh? Kanupriya and Jamadagni. Kanupriya and Jamadagni. And in many ways, those questions are genuine. Prabhupada has answered questions of similar nature in other places. But he wasn't willing to answer to Kanupriya and Jamadagni. He wanted them to, follow. Later, anyways, fell away. So, ultimately, one has to, at some point of time in Krishna consciousness, reach the platform where one has to surrender one's misconception that one is the arbitrator to judge things in Shastra, judge things with the spiritual master and this and that, but rather no, the spiritual master is the arbitrator of what we deserve to hear and what we don't deserve to hear. This is a tough thing to accept. But when one follows the practice of Krishna consciousness, this is not difficult to understand. Because everything that we need to know in Krishna consciousness is presented to us and is given to us. And every devotee in one's personal life we can describe that with every single devotee in this room. We have everything we need to practice Krishna consciousness. There's really no lacking. But if there's lacking, that lacking is from us. Is that okay? Anything else?
Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, can you speak?
Yes, go on.
Go.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Pranam.
Pranam.
Prabhu, one thing I was thinking about, and I guess we always have this conversation before every marathon, and nothing really happens about it, but I'm pretty serious this time. While we're shooting books in the marathon, why don't you maybe prepare like a 1 or 2 day seminar on the gems of nectar of instruction or something like that?
Oh. All right, think about it.
At least you can give 6 classes on that at least,
Well, think about it.
That's what you always say every year. So, anyway.
Well, 1 year I'll say it and probably do it, Krishna willing, so.
What do you say? You'll eventually do it in one of your
1 year I'll say it and probably do it too. I'm definitely not going to do it without saying it, so. So let's see if that is this year.
Okay. So, I was also thinking another thing is this, point of, these people love discussing where did the jiva come from, but they hate They hate discussing topics of surrender. They hate doing that. It always has to be a pie in the sky, Gopi Bhav, Siddha Swarup, Siddha Pranali conversation, but it's never a practical conversation. It's never like a thing which should actually make any practical difference in a person's life.
Yeah,
well,
like-
is your
like-
guru
like-
a
like-
Nitya
like-
Siddha or a sadhana Siddha?
Right,
Well,
like
you
they
know, he's
don't, they
not a
don't, they
sadhana.
don't, they don't want to discuss like how are we going to get Srimad Bhagavatam sets in every house, in
Never.
America.
That's for neophytes. We've gone past that like a long time ago. You know, that's like for like people who are too passionate. But it's never about the like practical things about spreading Krishna consciousness or anything like that. And it's never about attending Mangal Aarti. They hate attending Mangal Aarti. They hate staying awake in the morning. You know, but like all the other like, you know, high flown stuff, you know, it's just it creates a big disturbance in devotional society actually, you know. These kind of pseudo intellectual people, you know, they're very expert at reading like books of the previous acharyas without reading Prabhupada's books and like creating a big confusion within the society of devotees, you know. So anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Okay, right. Anything else? Matsya Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhu, so this point about how the hippie movement started because Prabhupada was like gonna come and like preach. What's the difference between like a divine arrangement and like just like a devotee like taking taking advantage of like a coincidental like situation and like using it in service of like Krishna?
We don't believe in coincidences.
Well, because like there was one time I gave a class and I said like there was like a new shopping center popping up in Decatur and like I was like they don't realize it but they're building a new like place where we can do Sankirtan and then like you explained to me that it's like you know like it's different. They're doing that for sense gratification and then the devotee comes there and like turns it into a favorable situation. So like you know like can you explain it in regard to like Prabhupada and the hippie movement?
So the thing is, Krishna, in a very inconceivable way, executes both. He executes both of these things simultaneously. Like all these hippies, they all came and they all had material desires. All the hippies didn't become devotees. You know, it was a phase. In fact, if you look at history, it was the hippie movement that ushered in the era of feminism and the LGBTQ movement began with the hippies. Before the hippies, there were no LGBTQ, nothing, none of this stuff. And this has to happen because people have to degrade more than animals, right? In Kali Yuga, so you can see this simultaneously happening. But we see it happened at the time that Srila Prabhupada came, and it played, it did play a major role. That period of time had a major role in the way devotees joined the movement in scores and how the movement was taken as. I mean, it doesn't. If you think about it, it doesn't make any sense. The hippies were left-leaning; they were progressive, quote unquote progressive. And what is Prabhupada preaching? And women, Stri Dharma and follow husband and all this kind of stuff. They were into having drugs, growing hair. Prabhupada was against all of this. How did the Hare Krishna movement become associated with the hippies? Hare Krishna was anything but counterculture. For ignorant Christians, it may have seemed like it was something that had to do with counterculture because devotees had shikas and were dancing with robes in the street and women were dressed in some strange clothes and like that. And like that they could have thought, but it was actually, there is no semblance, You can say there is some semblance. There's ideas of not conforming with mainstream society, all that. But if you take that, Krishna consciousness has semblance with so many things. Krishna consciousness semblance with democracy also. Krishna consciousness philosophy has semblance with communism as well, capitalism as well. There are things that you will find that fits, and that you will see from the Bible, you will see that from the Quran, you will see that from because the Krishna consciousness philosophy is the essence, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of Vedanta, which is the essence of the Vedas, which Vedas means knowledge, which is everything in this world. So that you will find. But you just see how something that is very different to what the hippies stood for somehow become associated with the hippies. And then it's actually inconceivable. Devotees mistakenly attribute Prabhupada's success to the hippie thing, but it's actually the other way around. Because technically the hippies shouldn't have had really anything to do with such a conservative, and people like Allen Ginsberg recognized that Srila Prabhupada was conservative. He was like, you're conservative as anything. They recognized that. But how did the other hippies not recognize this? Krishna creates this. So that's the point, that Krishna can change that material nature to whatever, and he does that because he wants to facilitate the execution of devotional service by his devotees. So that's how something that is apparently executed for the purpose of sending all these Kali Yuga souls to hell, according to their own ill-conceived desires, becomes associated with Lord Chaitanya's movement in this most miraculous way, as if coincidentally. Then Krishna consciousness spreads. I mean, right now, it's like, for us, it's unimaginable. How are we going to do 1,000 Bhagavatams a day? I mean, let's even try to do 1,000 Bhagavatams one day. How is this ever going to happen? It's like, we don't have this. But how did the hippie movement get associated with the Hare Krishna movement? It's crazy. Devotees were shaving their heads when they're supposed to be growing hair. It's so there's so many examples of this. It just keeps going on and on and on. It keeps going on and on and on. It's just very, very inconceivable, because Krishna consciousness is not executed on the mundane platform. It doesn't belong to the material world. It doesn't belong to three modes of material nature. It's above everything. I hope that answered your question. Not sure.
Yeah, can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Okay, so so we hear that like one of the functions of Shankaracharya teaching like Mayavad is to create an increase of population.
Yes.
Is it too far to say that that could be for facilitating the expansion of the Krishna consciousness?
No, it's not far at all, because Shankaracharya did come to facilitate that, because Lord Buddha came, Krishna came out of his own sweet will and rejected the Vedas. If the Vedas were not established, then how are we to establish the Srimad Bhagavatam? On what platform are we to establish the Srimad Bhagavatam? So Shankaracharya served Lord Chaitanya's movement by establishing the Vedas as the authority and kicking Buddhism out of India. So there is that service. Our Acharyas recognize. There's a book by B.G. Narsingh, Bhakti Gaurava Narsingh Maharaj, called the, I believe, the Evolution of Philosophy or some. I don't remember. Basically, he describes the progression from Shankara, all the way from Buddhism to Lord Chaitanya's movement. That's it. I'll find and tell you. I don't remember the name right now, but basically the subject matter of this book is that. He's a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, by the way. Bhakti Gaurav Narsingh Maharaj. P.G. Narasingha. And going back to this previous point, one important point that we have to understand is, in the case of pure devotees, we have to understand that nothing is a coincidence. Krishna is making the arrangement. We don't say that for ourselves, because that's kind of contrary. It's like we're thinking Krishna is serving us. It's not that way. And we glorify Krishna made the arrangement so that I could, and we say like that. But also our understanding is not that, out of a platform of humility, it's better not to apply that to ourselves too much, but we can apply that to devotees like Srila Prabhupada, predecessor acharyas, and we must. because we understand that Krishna is reciprocating with them. But we are not reciprocating with Krishna, so we should not, at least devotee doesn't think that way. He doesn't think he's performing in anything, devotional service that's really pleasing. Or sometimes Krishna is very merciful that he made that arrangement, even though I'm not qualified. Like that is okay, You understand? Yeah. Okay. You had something? Yeah. Go on.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it was saying that we need determination to execute devotional service.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, if we lack in that determination, how do we aspire to get that determination to execute the devotional service?
So, we read that, right? In the Nectar of Instruction, that Srila Prabhupada explains that you get that determination with faith. With faith that Krishna will surely protect me. And that faith is required. How will you get that faith? By understanding that Krishna is the provider of everything. Srila Prabhupada states that in this purport also. He says people, happiness, Prabhupada writes here, he says that blind as they are, they do not have the proper vision that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all happiness because He is the ultimate source of everything. So I want to be happy. At least we are convinced about that we want to be happy. We understand that happiness also comes from Krishna. If happiness comes from Krishna, then since He is the source of everything, He will provide for everything that I need. Because who else is going to provide? Who else has provided anything? Who has provided this body? Who is providing you food every day? It's all coming from Krishna. So He will provide us everything that we need to execute devotional service. This is called determination. Not that we doubt the instruction of the spiritual master or doubt the instruction of Krishna. Is that understandable? This is how it comes. Okay. Anything from the Matajis? Yes.
The first one, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Is it working?
Yeah.
The first one is just clarification on your previous answer about Krishna, like not expecting him to facilitate things in an effort like for us, like him serving us. But then I'm trying to understand what that
No,
means
so
in
Krishna
relation
will
to-
facilitate. We have to have confidence.
Okay.
But our position is that it's not that Krishna is like our order supplier or order carrier. I desired, therefore Krishna supplied. But it's more that the spiritual master has given me this instruction. I'm very incompetent. I'm very fallen. But I have to execute this. And Krishna will provide because He's very merciful. He's very merciful towards me. He's very merciful towards all living entities, especially fallen living entities. And He's very dear to my spiritual master. Because my spiritual master is giving me this instruction, he will make the necessary arrangements. There's a very important difference between the two. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
That helped. And then in regards to like having our desires increase in devotional service, like what causes that increase in desire?
In regards to what?
Like what causes the increase in our increase in desire to perform devotional service?
What causes increase in desire to perform devotional service? Devotional service itself. Execution of devotional service favorably towards the practice of Krishna consciousness increases the desire to perform that devotional service more and more. It's a self-propagating formula. It feeds itself. Enthusiasm to practice Krishna consciousness comes from Krishna consciousness. So once we know, your point is, once we have the desire, how to increase that desire? By performing more, it will increase automatically. Because everything that is needed in Krishna consciousness comes from Krishna consciousness itself. Bhakti sanjayate bhaktya. That bhakti results in bhakti. Devotional service results in devotional service. Okay.
So on the point we were talking about how like doubts are like rotting things in our minds. So at one point, I'm not gonna lie, I had the question, if we came from the spiritual realm, I had that question, right? And then somebody expressed,
FAQ.
huh?
It's a FAQ.
What's that mean?
Frequently asked question.
Okay, right. So, but we have to understand that, like you said, we're not the arbitrator of, accepting and not accepting certain things, right? But it's like if that's a doubt in my mind and I'm told just accept it, won't it eventually, maybe.
No, so therefore doubts that disturb our execution of Krishna consciousness must be clarified. And devotees, including the spiritual master, attempts to clarify those things. Unless clarification of that increases one's ego and makes it detrimental to one's devotional service, which the spiritual master can determine that, and therefore fail to reply. So, kind of follow-up answer to that also. In some cases, if the answer to the question makes the disciple more puffed up, then better not to answer. We see the examples of that also. So that has to be answered. There are ways in which that can be answered. But ultimately, we also have to understand that there are certain things that we will never understand. And if our expectation is to understand something that whether we are incapable of understanding because of our position right now, just like an ant, if it wants to understand how this exact room looks like, it doesn't have the capacity to do so. But doesn't mean that it has to doubt that the room exists in itself. So there is reasonable doubt and there is unreasonable doubt. If doubts are unreasonable, then that's a sign of insincerity. So that also is there. So in regards to particularly answering that, we could talk about it later, because it's not directly the subject matter of this. Is that okay? In general, is it?
I got the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha